Good morning, everybody. We're back here again today with another coffee talk, and today we are going to be talking about victim blaming. Because of Sexual Assault Awareness Month, we also talk about this when it comes to domestic violence or any type of other assaults. Victim blaming is almost always involved. So what is victim blaming, right? A lot of the times people don't realize that they are doing it. Many times they think that they are asking the right questions or just how the conversation is going. It's never, they never have sympathy for the survivor or empathize with them at all. So when it comes to victim blaming, it can be, comments that question the victim's actions prior to an assault or after an assault took place, right? Like, for instance, how long did it take you to make a police report, right? And I think that is one of the biggest ones that have came up, and especially given right now with everything going on with I know I've seen it a lot now on social media with the massage therapists coming out and talking about their assaults from the NFL football player, correct? And when I take a look at the comments, I cannot believe how much victim blaming there is going on. I mean, there's several comments on, well, if it really happened, why did they wait so long to report, right? Did it really happen, or are they just after the money, right? And, well, their job is a massage therapist, so maybe the person could have gotten a different idea, right? So never once in that comment, and as sad as it sounds, was there anybody that really said, I believe them, right? I believe that this happened to them. I believe that they are survivors. I believe them, and let's support them. Every single comment was against them, how they are lying, why are they coming out so late if it happened so long ago? Why wasn't there not a police report? Almost everything that you can think of. And I can't imagine, how these ladies are feeling, right? Because, I know from working with survivors of sexual assault, many times the victim blaming comes from their own family members, well, what were you wearing? And I told you not to go out. And why were you drinking? And you drank too much, right? As if, because we went out, as if because we drank, as if because we were wearing a certain type of clothing, that was asking for somebody to assault us. Absolutely not. Right. And when I would meet, survivors in the hospital, the first thing I would say is, I believe you. I believe you. I don't care what you were doing that night. Right. Because when it comes to assault, when it comes to any type of crime, you don't ask for it. I always say, you can walk around naked and then you're still not asking to be assaulted. Right. These are all things that people really need to educate themselves on and really have a conversation on, because it's very easy to assume, right? If you are not in their shoes, if you are not going through what they're going through, don't assume. Don't victim blame, support, ask how you can help. Don't question why they didn't report. Don't question why they didn't tell anybody, right? Because if you are going through something traumatic, do you think that your first thought is, I need to report this, right? And I need to go to the hospital? No, it's what has just happened, right? You are in a confused state. You don't know what to do. What are even the correct steps, right? And that's a lot of the times with the survivors that I would meet, they did not know what to do. They disclosed to a friend, and thankfully some of them had friends who knew about the Women's Center, knew about being able to go to the hospital and get a forensic exam. Those type of friends are the ones that you need if something happens like that. But then I've also gotten people who said, I told my friend, and she said, well, it happened so long ago, right? And how much did you have to drink? And, well, he's so nice. Why? I don't believe that he would do anything like that. Or maybe it was a misunderstanding, right? Rather than believing the survivor, and now the survivor is there alone, figuring out if, did this happen? Am I exaggerating? Questioning really what happened, and it all has to come back with you, right? In the moment, did you feel comfortable, right? I mean, were you able to give consent, right? And later on this week, I believe tomorrow, we're going to talk about consent. So that's a big one when it comes to, for example, somebody that you've already been intimate with, right? Or somebody that you are currently dating. Even though you have been intimate with somebody or have been with someone for a long time, it does not mean it's always a yes, right? Consent should always be given regardless, right? And if there's alcohol involved, then obviously you cannot give consent. So I am going to share my screen with you guys. And I don't know if any of you have ever heard of this exhibit, and a lot of college campuses host it each year. I think Texas A&M hosted one, I want to say maybe 3 years ago, and Sam Houston State University as well. They hosted one maybe 2-3 years ago. So what they do is they do an art exhibit in a room, and they hang up clothes of survivors and ask them, what were you wearing? Right? Because I think that's one of the biggest questions. What were you wearing when the assault happened? Right? I've heard that asked so many times, as if, like I said, as if what you were wearing matters. Correct? So I'm going to flip my screen, and we are going to see a little bit of how it looks like. Let me see. Okay. So this is a little bit of how the exhibit looks. It's different clothes hanging around in a room. And on the side, there is stories of the survivors, of like a short kind of summary of what happened, what were they wearing, what did they end up doing with the clothes. The clothes that is actually hanged in these art exhibits are not the ones that they were wearing, but it's close to, they describe to what they were wearing, and they try to put it together as close enough, because many times these survivors don't have their clothes anymore. A lot of the times when we ask survivors what happened after the assault, many will say, I threw the clothes away, I burned it, I ended up going to the hospital and I had to give my clothes up. So the forensic nurse kept it. Okay, so this is kind of how it looks. Let me go to the next one. This one, I believe, was at Sam Houston State University, and it was open for all the students on campus to go and see. And so it's very neat how they had it, and it just kind of opens up your eyes on, how victim blaming looks and how it affects people. Okay, let me go to the next one. And as you can see, no clothes is the same, right? T-shirt, jeans, you have a prom dress right there. T-shirt, jeans, look of a child, older, got a dress. So really, this exhibit is really neat. If you ever get to go to one on a college campus, usually it's like a traveling type of thing. So they'll go to different campuses if you request them. And even some campuses put it together on their own. Okay, so this is one, and it says, I was wearing a sari, the same thing I wear most days. It was what I was most comfortable in. It reminded me of home, of my family, of my identity. Now reminds me of him. And then it doesn't say the students' names or anything. It just says, outfit inspired by a university student. So usually what will happen is they will ask survivors to bring their story with them on what were you wearing, and describe a little bit about what they were wearing, and then the campus will put it together. Then we have this one. What were you wearing? I was wearing jean shorts and a tank top. He wouldn't let me out of his car until he finished. As soon as I got home, I threw that shirt in the trash. What were you wearing? White t-shirt and a black basketball shorts. It was always the same outfit. It was always after rec center leak. I trusted him. My mom trusted him. This is another one. This is actually a male survivor. A red flannel shirt, a gray t-shirt and jeans. She was my friend and I trusted her. She kept handing me drinks and then I woke up with her on top of me. The next day she told me, well, you never said no. To this day, I still often blame myself. This one was taken from one of the ones that Texas A&M had held. And they're wearing a baseball cap and a Texas A&M t-shirt. And then you really can't see what it's saying, but I rewrote it over here. I was wearing a university shirt and a ball cap. We were just going to be hanging out as usual, drinking and watching a movie. I drank way too much and woke up with him on top of me. Anonymous survivor. So these are all were taken from these exhibits that I found online. I've always wanted to attend one in person, but I haven't been able to. But if you ever get the chance, it's very neat. It just kind of gives you that sense of, you know, what's left out of conversations around sexual assault, right? It can happen to you, it can happen to me, and what people are wearing when it happens has nothing to do with the assault, right? It has happened to you, you know, at a trusted friends party, right? So many times people will say, you know, why'd you go by yourself? You went to a place that you didn't know. When in reality, you know, these assaults almost always happen by somebody that you know, as sad as that sounds. But I wanted to share this right here. I think it's very powerful. And let me see. And I think with everything going on, this is really neat. It kind of depicts on how victim blaming can look. So the top, it says hashtag why I didn't report. And these are a lot of questions that I have personally heard when I meet survivors at the hospital and their friends are there, family is there, parents are there, whoever is there, they will get questions like this, right? Did you provoke him? Did you scream? Well, what were you wearing? A lot of times they'll say, I don't believe you, you're exaggerating. Were you drinking or were you getting high? Did you provoke him? And then this big one, why now after so many years? So 9 times out of 10, you know, a lot of the clients wait a long time because they don't have that support, right? They don't have they maybe told somebody and that person shut them down and victim blamed, and that made them not want to report, right? And then we will get many clients who will come in, you know, years later after the assault, years later after the abuse, if it was a child, if they were a child when it happened, and they will get the question, why now after so many years, right? And you know, you deal with trauma differently. So for somebody to say, you know, why did you wait so long? It's not acceptable, right? Because everybody's different. Everybody deals with trauma differently. Like I said, that's not your main priority at the time. It's more of, you know, what just happened, right? A lot of the times I hear survivors tell me, you know, I didn't fight back, I just froze, right? Or some will say, I fought back as hard as I could, and I just was not strong enough, right? So the way that you react at the moment when you're being assaulted, you can't control that. It's just part of your anatomy. It's what your body decides to do at that moment. So it's either you fight, you freeze, or you leave, right? You try to run. And it's either one of those three, and we really can't know until we are in a state of trauma. So thank you guys for joining me today in this coffee talk, and I hope that you guys will think about it and think about next time, you know, if somebody tells you that something happened to them, how do you support, right? Stop the victim blaming, support, believe, and, you know, offer your empathy, offer your sympathy, and be there for that survivor. Bye, guys.